What's the story, everyone? Welcome back to GA Fan TV. I hope the form is good. I hope the form is well. The provincial finals are well and truly here, and we have two provincial finals on this weekend. Two big provincial finals. A big day out for Sligo, playing in their first provincial final, their first Connacht final since 2015. They'll be taking on Galway. And Clare, huge moment for them. Haven't won the Munster title since 1992, and they will play in their first Munster final since 2012. They'll be taking on Kerry. We're here for a preview of both games. We're here for a breakdown, and we will be looking ahead to this weekend's under-20 semi-finals as well, which, let's be perfectly honest, are probably going to be more interesting than both provincial finals. Don't want to take anything away from both Clare and Sligo. I just think everybody and his dog and, his cat and everyone else's family, I don't even know what I'm saying, basically knows that those games are going to be decided. Like, the game, we know Kerry and Galway are going to win both games. Like, let's be perfectly honest. Let's call a spade a spade. Kerry-Clare is a game that I'm more interested to know because Clare are playing at a higher level than Sligo. But then again, Kerry are Kerry, and Kerry could put Clare to bed in the opening 20 minutes. I think the provincial finals the next weekend after this weekend, I should say, in Dublin versus Louth, and Armagh versus Derry, I think it's going to be a bit of a different conversation. I think those two games are going to be far more in the balance. Who would have thought that a couple of years ago in terms of Dublin and Louth and a Leinster final? But obviously we will preview those games next weekend, and instead we'll look towards Kerry and Clare. We'll discuss what might happen, what can Clare do, is there anything they can do to try and do something in this game? And obviously for Sligo, they are building, they're in an under-20 semi-final this weekend as well. Look, we'll run through both games, we'll preview both games, and we'll discuss what most likely will happen, which will probably be a Galway and Kerry win, in fairness. But who will be the standout players? Who will be the players to watch? And here we go then. If you're new to the channel, hit the like button and subscribe. Very much helps the channel grow. And if you could share this out to your friends and family, would be very much appreciated. Closing in on the 4,000 subscriber mark, so it'll be great to get there soon. So if you could subscribe, if you haven't already, just do it. It's free, and all you got to do is press a button, which it's not that hard nowadays, but then again, technology is advancing and they'll probably make us do something else soon. But if you could push that button, hit that subscribe button, that would just be absolutely brilliant, you know that? So we'll look ahead to the under-20 football semi-finals a little bit later on, but let's start with Kerry versus Clare. As we were saying, the last time Clare beat Kerry was in fact that 1992 that 1992 Munster final, which was an incredible moment for Clare. I think it was their first Munster final in 90 or 100 years or something crazy like that. And to be fair to Clare, it's great for them to have this moment. It's great for Clare to be playing in a Munster final. I feel like everything that Colm Collins has worked this Clare team towards has been for this Munster final. It's been for this moment, and you think of the body of work they've done through Division 2 down the years, the amount of times they've turned over the likes of Cork, Tipperary, Limerick, the other sides in Munster. Clare have been building towards this moment, and you think of the likes of Owen Cleary, Keelan Sexton, Darren O'Neill, Cathal O'Connor, lads who've been given blood, guts and absolutely everything within themselves for Clare football. For them to have their moment this weekend against Kerry is absolutely brilliant, and I genuinely do believe, regardless of the scoreline, regardless of what happens, what a story Clare GAA has become, and what a story Clare football is, because let's not forget, it was only about 10-15 years ago that this side were a Division 4 side, probably in a very similar situation to what the Waterford footballers are in now. A predominantly hurling county, all the focus on the hurlers, not much attention to the footballers. But look at what has happened, with Clare, and look at what Colm Collins has built for this Clare side. That's why I get frustrated sometimes when you see opposition managers or GA managers, pundits, fans and everything else, saying, oh, we don't have resources, we don't have the capabilities to compete with the best teams, we can't do this, we can't do that, and just pointing the finger at other teams. And I think, look at the likes of Clare, look at the likes of Monaghan, look at the likes of Louth, for example, this year, who are, in terms of what they have available to them, in terms of population, I know Clare is a big enough county, but obviously it's very much a hurling county. You look at Louth. Louth does have a good enough population, but it's all soccer based. Let's be honest, the two big towns there, Drogheda and Dundalk, all very much soccer. So when you look at how much they've improved over the last couple of years, these are the examples we need to follow. We need to look at Clare, we need to look at Sligo, we need to look at what they're doing rather than blaming other people. And I've always believed take, self-accountability, take responsibility, rather than just shifting the blame to others, because at the end of the day, it doesn't get you anywhere. And in terms of Clare's 2 championship games, they obviously beat Cork on the opening day, beat Limerick as well. Keelan Sexton, very impressive, scoring 1-8 in those 2 games. Owen Cleary and Emmett McMahon have been very impressive as well. Emmett McMahon coming up from the under-20s, and Daniel Walsh has obviously been very impressive at wing-back as well. And as we were saying, 2 mainstays in midfield, Cathal O'Connor and Darren O'Neill in midfield have been excellent. You'd imagine Clare will just pack their defence, keep a lot of men behind the ball, try and keep Kerry out for as long as possible. I think it would have been great for this game to be in Ennis, just like it would have been great to have the Leinster final in RD, just to give those counties a bit more of a chance, and even maybe have the Connacht final in Markovich Park. What an occasion that would be. But look, in fairness, I think whatever game plan Clare bring to the table, you just imagine Kerry will be far too strong. Look, Clare will look at, this championship has been a strange one. We've seen a few upsets. We've seen a lot closer games than what we've expected. The Kildare-Dublin game was the perfect example of that. And Clare will take confidence from those type of performances. And let's not forget, Clare nearly beat Dublin and Croke Park earlier in the year as well. So, Clare won't fear Kerry. I don't think they'll fear them at all. They'll try and bring the game to Kerry. They'll try and stay in it. I think the most important thing from a Clare perspective is not to concede an early goal, not concede a flurry of points. If you can keep David Clifford quiet for as long as possible, I think that's big as well, because he's had a lot of quiet games in the last couple of weeks, and by all accounts, he's probably had a quiet enough year for Kerry. As soon as he clicks into gear and gets going, and it will happen at some stage, he's going to probably bag 2 or 3 goals in a game. And from a Clare perspective, they'll want to make sure that it's not this game, and maybe it will happen against Mayo in the group stages. I think the fact that that group stage draw, which obviously happened, by the time you're watching this, it would have happened yesterday, but I'm recording this straight after my group stage reaction, and it'll be interesting to know, would Kerry's approach change ever so slightly now with the group stage draw, with the fact that they're going to be in there with Mayo and Cork and possibly Louth if they win this game. So it'll be interesting to know, you lads' opinions on it. Could Kerry rest players now, maybe with Mayo only being 2 weeks away? That's an interesting perspective, to be fair. But look, I think Kerry probably will go strong as possible. I think they need to get their players up to speed, get their players ready for that group stages. And as I said, I think Kerry have been quiet this year in terms of the league. They didn't really take hugely seriously. You can't really read too much into the Tipperary win. So look, they'll want to go out and put Clare to bed early. I think the last thing from a Kerry perspective is to keep Clare in the game for large parts, or allow them to have a sniff or have a chance. Kerry need to start strong, but at the same time, from a neutral perspective, I hope it is an even game. We'll be watching both matches. You're just hoping there's a bit of a contest. And as I said, the fact that Clare were a Division 2 side at the start of the season, and probably are, a Division 2 side in my opinion. I think they'll get back to Division 2 next year, no problem. You would look at it then and say, this game is more likely to be a better spectacle than Galway-Sligo, because Sligo are, the Division 4 champions. I know Sligo football are on the rise themselves at the minute, but I think there's more of a gap there between Galway and Sligo and Kerry and Clare. So you're hoping it's a contest, but I do struggle to see how Clare will contain Kerry. And, Paul Gainey's obviously back now. Could we see Stephen O'Brien involved? Paulie Clifford will probably start. This will be definitely as close to Kerry in proper championship mode as we've seen so far this year, and that's why I think Kerry will just be far too strong. So no surprises, I'm going for a Kerry victory. I'll go for an 8-point win for Kerry. Am I being a bit too kind there? Am I being a little bit too, maybe, I suppose, unkind to Clare? It could be closer. I would be surprised if it would be anything less than 5, to be honest with you. I think Kerry just are far too strong, and they have the options coming off the bench as well. And look, it could be more than 10, and let's not forget the last time Kerry played Clare, which was in the championship in 2021, that game was over at half time. It was an absolute whitewash. Kerry just absolutely blew them away. So you're hoping Clare can be competitive and bring their A game. I'm hoping that version of Clare turns up, which more often does, to be fair. But I just think Kerry will be far too strong, and yeah, Kerry will win by 8 or 9 points. Galway versus Sligo is the other Connacht final, the other provincial final, as we were saying there. And as I was saying, I think this will probably be the most one-sided provincial final out of the four. And again, don't mean a huge disrespect to Sligo, but I think Galway are probably the best team in the country right now. And I think Sligo are building. Sligo are building towards the future. We'll get to their under-20s in a minute, but Sligo are building well, and I think this game is a bonus. This game is bonus territory, regardless of what happens here. I don't think anyone will really be critical of Sligo at all. I do think the worry for Sligo is that they haven't had really a test at all coming into this game. They had no test from New York, very little test from London. They came through some tough Division 4 games, in fairness, but I just think they haven't played anyone of the quality of Galway this year. But realistically, they haven't played anyone even close to the quality. At least if they had to beat a Division 2 side or a Division 3 team or something of that nature, you'd think right, well, this is what they can do against those sides. So it's hard to really know with Sligo, to be honest. If there's any players that are going to do that on the day, it's the, I suppose, dynamic front three that's been there for a good couple of years now, and Patrick O'Connor, Niall Murphy and Sean Carabine. But as we said, Sligo are building very nicely at underage level, and keep an eye on the likes of Pat Spillane Jr., who, whether he's playing in midfield or in the half-forward line, he's the man who links it all together. Very athletic player, very tall, great boot on him as well with the ball, and I'd be curious to see him going up against that Galway defence, in fairness. Luke Towie and Evan Lyons in particular, whether he's playing a cornerback or wingback, has looked very good for Sligo as well in the last couple of seasons. But as I said, look, I could have easily just said, I won't do a preview for the games this weekend because they're too much of a formality, but at the same time, I want to give Sligo and Clare their somewhat respect that they deserve. But you're just in terms of how Sligo can win the game, or if I was to talk about how Sligo, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, unfortunately. I don't see. I think Sligo will sit in. They'll be defensive. Tony McEntee, obviously, Armagh born and bred, Crossmaglen man. I'm sure he'll set Sligo up defensively and set them apart to beat, and they'll try and contain Galway for as long as possible. But I just think Galway will just blow them away. Absolutely blow them away. And again, could Galway maybe be looking further down the line again with the fact that, Tyrone will be the opening game in the group stages, should they obviously win this weekend. But you are just looking at it and thinking Galway have far too many attacking options. Galway could probably rest 4, 5, 6 players and probably still win comfortably. They have had a couple of injuries though in the last throughout this year. Obviously Damien Comer has been in and out. Robert Finnerty's had his injury problems. Johnny Daly as well. So I think for Galway, they'll want to make sure those players are match fit and match sharp, which is why I think Damien Comer will start once again. He was very impressive against Roscommon, and I think what he needs is more game time and more match time, so I think you'll see him play. Could you see the likes of maybe some of the under-20s like Tom O'Culhan, who's been knocking on the fringes in the last couple of years, Cathal Sweeney as well? Could he maybe make a start in this one? Galway have, obviously won an under-20 All-Ireland a couple of years ago, so it mightn't be no harm to throw those players into this one, in fairness. But yeah, if I'm going to go for a prediction, I'd say Galway by 13 points, 14 points. I really hope I'm wrong. I hope it's less. I hope it's, 10 or 11 or 5 or 6. As I said, I'll be watching both of these two matches, so I hope both of them are competitive, and I hope Sligo win. I obviously want Sligo and Clare to win. Make no mistake about that. I'd love to see the upset, but I just don't see it. I just do not see it. And the last time Sligo played Galway, they were absolutely hammered. Last time they played Mayo, they were hammered. And in the championship, Sligo are building towards something. And look, maybe in 3, 4, 5 years, they might be able to bridge the gap on the likes of Galway and Mayo. But I think it's too soon. It is too soon. But look, they're under 20s. Beat both Galway and Mayo this year. So Sligo are building. They definitely are building. But their senior team right now just aren't at the same level as Galway. They aren't even close to their level, if we're being realistic. So yeah, I think I'll say Galway by 12 points. Moving on to the under-20 semi-finals then, and it is Sligo versus Kerry and Down versus Kildare. Haven't had too much time to obviously discuss the under-20 football championship action, I suppose, on the channel so far, but I suppose it's opened up a bit this week with the fact that, the two provincial football finals are likely to be very one-sided, and yeah, both under-20 games on Saturday evening. One thing I do want to say, actually, the whole 7-day rule, obviously, that's been implemented around under-20 football, I'd be curious to know people's opinions on it. On one hand side, I think it's very unfair to expect players to play in both, But at the same time, you understand it from a management point of view where at the end of the day, if players are good enough to play in an under-20 game and a senior game and they're 3, 4, 5 days apart, you would look at it and think they should be more than able to play. And I do also believe as well that it is quite unfair that the Sligo under-20s are playing this weekend on the same weekend of their county playing in a senior provincial final. I don't understand why there's such a rush with the under-20 football championship. Like, especially around this time of the year. Like, around this time of the year is when most of those under-20 lads will probably have college exams, assignments. Some of them will be doing, huge degrees, masters, everything else. And I just think, why are we doing the competition now? Like, this competition, in my opinion, it should be played in July and August, the same time as the other competitions. And it is something that really frustrates me, to be honest. And I think it's very unfair on the likes of Down, or an under-20 Ulster final, and then a couple of days later we're playing in a provincial final and some of those players couldn't play, for example. And then you'd have to say the same as well with Sligo. I wouldn't expect too many of the under-20 lads to play for Sligo if they were eligible, and obviously the games are 1 day apart, but let's say they were a week apart. I don't think a lot of those Sligo players would play anyway, but I think having them in the panel, there might be 1 or 2 there that Tony McEntee might fancy. So I just think it's a little bit unfair, in my opinion, and especially for Sligo fans as well, who, under-20 game on a Saturday, then you have a provincial final on a Sunday. Just a little bit unfair in my opinion, and I do think the GAA needs to push the under-20 championships to the same time as, they need to fit it in a little bit later, August, July. Why not? Why not after the All-Ireland series? That's what I think, the senior championship. But anyway, back to a preview of the 2 matches. And look, a very, very intriguing 2 semi-finals. Just looking at it here, Sligo have never won the under-20 Ulster Championship. Kerry last won it in 2008. Down last won it in 1979. And Kildare, of course, last won it in 2018. Looking at the Sligo-Kerry game, first of all, what a story it has been for Sligo this year. Beating Roscommon, beating Galway, beating Mayo, beat the big dogs, as they said. And what a story, for Sligo. Obviously won an under-20 Connacht title last season for the first time in their history. And now they've won back-to-back titles. And there is something brewing in Sligo, 110%. Luke Marin has been in extraordinary form, 21 points from him throughout the under-20 championship. Joshua Flynn looks like a very good player as well. Dylan Walsh at wing-back as well. Very sort of modern-day footballer from what I've seen from him. So, like, Sligo, look, they're building very well. The fact they beat Galway, Mayo and Roscommon, 3 sides who, like, Mayo haven't done too well at under-20 level in the last couple of seasons, but they have been bringing through players. Galway obviously won an under-20 All-Ireland a couple of years ago. Roscommon were in an under-20 final back in 2021. I know a lot of those players have since moved on to the senior team, but those 3 counties always do well, generally speaking, at this grade. So Sligo are building something, and I actually think they're going into this game possibly even as favourites, which is probably unusual to say when they're coming up against none other than Kerry. In fairness to the Kingdom, though, they probably are coming into this hugely under the radar, and I think the reason for that is because they're Kerry. They're probably expected to be here, in all honesty. They don't have a huge amount of sides to compete with. In fairness, look, Clare took them to extra time there a couple of weeks ago. And again, that probably bodes into my point earlier about Clare, the fact that, like, look at what they're doing right now. But it's an interesting one with Kerry. Like, they usually are in the under-20 All-Ireland semi-finals. It's just been, can they get beyond this stage? Can they get beyond the semi-final? Can they get to a final and win it? As we said, they haven't won the under-20 All-Ireland Championship since 2008. I'd imagine there's probably been plenty of defeats in terms of under-20 semi-finals and finals. So for Kerry supporters and fans, like, they'll want to bridge that duck, and look, their senior team is sorted for the next 5 or 10 years. But they will want to have players coming through, and they will want to increase competition for places. So I do think Kerry fans will be, I suppose, looking at this game quite closely this weekend as well. William Shine has scored 16 points for Kerry in just 2 matches. Kerry have only played 2 games in the under-20 championship because of, obviously, the way Munster is. Keane McMahon looks like a very pacey forward. They do have their own Clifford as well in Jack Clifford, not a relation, I believe, of David and Paddy. And Aaron O'Shea looks like a very good forward as well. But I'm going to go for Sligo. Is it an upset? I'm not too sure. I haven't even checked the odds for this game, to be fair. But I think when you look at who Sligo beat in terms of Mayo, Galway, Roscommon, I will be perfectly honest, I probably haven't seen these counties in depth, in terms of watching them every week or knowing matchups or knowing with the huge amount of both styles of play. But I just look at what Sligo are building at the minute, the teams that they've beat. And I do think under 20 football at Munster level has been a little bit poor the last couple of years. Like, let's be perfectly honest. I know Cork won when 2019. But generally speaking, I think, I think Sligo are coming in very strong. I think they will beat Kerry. The only thing is, could some of those under 20 lads end up playing for the senior team this weekend? And could that take away from the under 20 side? Like, that is the problem with the 7-day rule, in my opinion, is that you're asking players to choose when there should be enough of a time gap between both games and they should be able to play. But there we go. So I'll go with Sligo to win the game by 2 points. We then have Down versus Kildare, and I think Down, in my opinion, are the best of the 4 sides left in this under-20 championship, in my opinion. They cruise past Tyrone, Monaghan and Derry. Obviously Tyrone, the reigning All-Ireland champions from last year. Derry were missing a few players that would have been available to them in that Ulster final. The likes of Lakeland Murray and Owen McAvoy, for example, didn't play. Even though they actually would have been eligible to play, they didn't play. Maybe Rory Gallagher just keeping them fresh for the game against Monaghan. In terms of some of their top players, Oisín Savage has been outstanding. He's actually the top scorer in the entirety of the championship. He scored 2 goals and 19 points in 3 games. James Doran looks like a very talented player as well. He's come off the bench a couple of times and made a big impact for this downside. And Oren Murdoch in midfield is another player I think people should be aware of. From looking at the game versus Derry highlights and even some of the other games as well, he seems to be very involved, keeping the play ticking over, and just a very strong top-class midfielder. So, yeah, I think Down are coming in very, very strong, in fairness. But look, Kildare were Leinster under-20 champions last year, and in fairness to them, they're bringing through, a plenty of talent in the last few seasons. Shane Farrell scored 18 points for the Lily Whites. Ryan Sinke and Joe Quigley has also been very impressive as well. Interesting enough, Kildare have lost a game in this year's under-20 championship. They actually lost to Westmeath, would you believe, in the round-robin group stages, but still had enough to progress out of the group. So yeah, it's. I think Kildare, look, in fairness to them, like as I've said before, and I'll say it again, if Kildare can get their act together in the next couple of seasons, the senior team, I think a Leinster title at senior level is 110% there for them. Because I think Dublin are hugely regressing at the moment. But I think you look at the Kildare under 20s. I think this will be a bridge too far coming up against this downside. I think Down are very, very strong to beat Tyrone in the way they did, beat Derry in the way that they did, beat Monaghan as well. I think Down are coming in very, very strong. So yeah, I'll go with Down to win by 3 points. But look, Kildare, I think they'll be, their fans will have a close eye on this game. If they can get to another under-20 All-Ireland final, what would be their 3rd in 5 years, it says a lot about the development of the county. And it says that, look, as much as we can look at Dublin and the resources and, they're playing in Croke Park, they have a wealth of players all across the county. Kildare have been in 3 under-20 All-Ireland finals if they win this weekend, which is probably more than any other county in my opinion. So there we go. But look, I'm going to go for Down to get the victory by 3 points. So there we go in terms of player of the week and bet of the week. I suppose we'll probably keep our money in our pockets for the senior games. Because there's absolutely, maybe if you wanted to throw, you could throw Clare, to lose by less than 7 points. But again, probably not the best option. I think Sligo beating Kerry, because again, I haven't checked the bookies odds. Do you know what? I actually might do that just now quickly for the crack. Yeah, so I just seen there on Paddy Power, Sligo actually underdogs. So I would that's what I would do. I would 100% go for Sligo to win that game. And then in terms of player of the week, again, we'll look towards one of the under-20s. I think Oisín Savage, I'm just very excited to see him in action because he's looked very, very good for Down. The Down under-20s obviously scoring 2 goals and 19 points. And look, Down are definitely building something. Obviously, Conor Laverty, their manager as well. He's obviously manager of the seniors and he's manager of the under-20s. So I'm sure he'll have this downside more than ready and capable to beat Kildare. But there we go. So yeah, let me know your predictions, your thoughts, and your opinions in the comments down below. There will be a hurling preview out tomorrow, so make sure to stay tuned for that one. And yeah, like, subscribe, and see you all soon.